Yang berhormat Datuk Wan Junaidi, yang berhormat Menteri yang tidak tahu ulu dan hilir, Abang Tengah, ulu ni si, hilir ni si, nyai melak di tengah ya. Menteri-menteri muda, pegawai-pegawai kanan kerajaan, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang saya hormati sekalian. Tiap kali saya merasmikan upacara di waterfront tu, saya rasa takut. Oleh kerana tidak lama dulu, Sidak Polres ada nangkap 3 ekor boyak dari sungai itu. Jadi kita baik-baik jangan pergi dekat gelak sungai tu, disambar sudah ya. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, memanglah hutan kekayaan kita. It is a national treasure which we must maintain and keep and pelihara. So much so that one of the policies of the state government is to increase the number of national parks, nature reserves, animal sanctuaries. Our target eventually will be that 10% of Sarawak will be devoted to national parks, forest reserves, protected forests, and animal sanctuaries. If possible, we have a series of decisions to make, and one of them, if I can remember, is declare part of Kuala Baram as a bird sanctuary. It has been there for all these many years. We want to declare that area as a bird sanctuary. These are our steps to preserve our forests. Now I'm going to read the speech prepared for me. You can go to sleep if you want, but I'll extrapolate on what the speech. In the International Day of Forests, to celebrate the rise of awareness, membangunkan kesedaran, to raise awareness of the importance of all types of forests and trees to human living and condition. Menambahkan kesedaran antara kita, berapa pentingnya, berapa banyak kita berharap dalam penghidupan kita kepada hutan. Forest areas cover type of forest areas such as hill mixed diptocrap, peat swamp forest, mangrove forest, and others. And these are the types of forests in our part of the world. Part of the Amazon basin, part of the Congo basin, and so on. Forests provide people with ecosystem services that include climate regulation, catchment protection, clean water, and erosion control of erosion, sedimentation, and flooding. In Sarawak, uncontrolled, indiscriminate logging will make our rivers look like kopi susu. Will be mud. The rivers will be like a flow of mud. So we must have proper implementation of regulation with regard to logging so that our rivers will be minimally protected, minimally affected, and will recover very, very early. We have a diversity. The forest diversity is almost countless. The natural forests have a high plant diversity with a great variety of habitats. Compared to temperate forests, our density of varieties in tropical rainforest is so many times over. I believe in 1 acre of tropical forest, you can have 400 species of plants and so on. So that is what God has given us. There are about 3,000 known tree species. This is the 3,000 that we know of. There's some more that we don't know of yet. And 40% of Sarawak plant species are endemic in Borneo. They are to be found basically on the island of Borneo, which straddles the equator. That includes, of course, Kalimantan and so on. There are about 185 species of mammals, 530 species of birds, 166 snake species, 100 lizard species, and 113 amphibian species in the state. Ular banyak, macam-macam lah. Apa nama, I wish there will be less snakes lah. There's so many. These are the species that inhabited our forest, and I believe there'll be some more, including, they tell me, the smallest, the second smallest frog in the world. I don't know who is the smallest frog in the world, but we have a very small, the smallest, the second smallest frog in the world, besar kuku tu aja. Susah nak carinya, tapi ada. Government promotes, of course the government promotes providing the clean water to the state. Forests are headwaters of major rivers that are ideal for sustainable hydropower development. Air jernih, clear water, clean water. If the whole forest is decimated, water retention will be lost, and you have a lot of barren patches of land, like a desert. So that the trees and the plants will retain water, rainwater along the rivers. But if you cut them down, all of them down, then they just flow on, and we cannot have a soaked river. We, of course, promote coordinated development and management of water as far as we can. Coordinate the development and management of water. How do we develop and control the use of water, land and related resources through integrated watershed management in order to maximize economic and social welfare and equity without compromising the sustainability of vital ecosystem and the environment. We have to, otherwise the whole ecological system will be upset. Forest products and values are crucial to the state and in the lives of the people of Sarawak. The rural population obtain food such as wild meat, fish and vegetables, material to construct houses and make handicrafts, traditional medicine, and cash income from collecting and selling non-timber forest products such as wild fruit, vegetable, etc., etc. As I said, this is a treasury which we can use and will last very long if we use it sustainably. This is a treasure that we have. If you don't believe me, ask any Arab who live in the desert. He can tell you how important rain is, how important vegetation is. Ladies and gentlemen, it is in fact known to all of us that timber industries contributed significantly to socio-economic development and the state as well as a source of foreign exchange. Yes, we allow for the exploitation of timber, but under controlled condition. Under controlled condition. That is why we have the Forest Department, and so other timber-related bodies. to control the management, monitoring of how our timber is being exploited. In 2015, last year, for instance, government received forest revenue amounting to 617 million, with export earnings, and from timber and timber products, 6.5 billion. Just think of the amount of money. Japan and India is our largest market, amounting to 39% and 19% respectively. This is important. The sector employs the timber industry, upstream and downstream, employs 90,000 people, directly, and indirectly another 150,000. If you add it together, nearly a quarter of our workforce is engaged directly or indirectly in the timber industry. I say it is irresponsible, as some quarters have been saying, even among the opposition parties, that we must change the system, suddenly change the system. If we do that, you will disrupt the timber industry. Change we must, yes, but it must be a gradual change, but not a sudden change. Because if there is a sudden and precipitate change, thousands of people will be rendered jobless. And I suppose these jobless people will go back to the opposition and ask a job from there. And so many families are dependent on the timber industry. Yes, we'll have a controlled exploitation of timber, but don't change it too quickly and too suddenly. It will disrupt the whole system. Realizing the value and significant role of Sarawak's forests in the state socio-economic development and the community, the state government is committed towards ensuring that the state's forests are sustainably managed. I think that one has already dwelled at length on what is meant by sustainable management of a limited resource, of a non-renewable. But in forest, if we manage it properly, it can renew itself. Our goal is to manage our forests in a manner that is environmentally responsible, socially beneficial, and economically viable. I don't say that we have achieved all this 100%, but efforts are being made to achieve this aim. Maybe not enough. Maybe we ought to take more steps towards it later on. But we are trying to make a sustainable development of our timber industry on a permanent basis, and as part of our principal policy on this matter. Therefore, the state government has drawn up a concrete land use policy, which takes into consideration all aspects of economic development, social well-being, and environmental balance and integrity. This policy includes three main sectors, that is forestry, agriculture, and other land uses. For forestry, the government has targeted 6 million hectares of land area as permanent forest estates, and 1 million hectares as totally protected areas. Until now, we have achieved about 4.35 million hectares, or 72.5% of state land mass as the permanent forest reserves, whereas for totally protected areas, we have achieved nearly 1 million hectares. I would like to stress here that Sarawak has its own laws and system to manage our forests. The Forest Ordinance is a law to provide for the protection and management of our forests and to regulate the extraction of timber products. Forest land designated as totally protected area, which comprise of national parks, nature reserves, and wildlife sanctuaries, are managed under the National Parks and Nature Reserve Ordinance, 1998, and Wildlife Protection Ordinance, 1998. I propose, and I hope they can materialize in years to come, to create a separate wildlife department, simply concentrating on wildlife and not just be part of forests. This, I hope, will create more efficiency in the administration of our forest resources. I have indicated on several occasions, the state government has declared war on illegal logging. We have received and repealed the Forest Ordinance to provide for effective measures against illegal activities in our state. I would like to report here that our effort to control or to reduce illegal logging has achieved some degree of success. I'm not saying that we can lick this problem once and for all. No, I think it's almost impossible. But we are on the road to reduce further illegal logging in the state. And the Forest Department has been reorganized to be more effective in the enforcement, including the Sarawak Forestry Corporation, to be more effective in the implementation of our effort. I believe, I'm told that over 30 illegal sawmills have closed down. The transport of timber is being under control, but you know Sarawak is so big, it's difficult to control everything. But the effort is being made there, and we have some degree of success, and this will continue. This will continue until the last log has been accounted for. The other limb of the policy is, if possible in the future, we will no longer export round logs. No more log export. But we cannot do that suddenly. We must work towards it step by step, so that later on we will only cut down planted forests and leave our natural forests alone. That is our aim. We are on the way there, but we take very slow, step-by-step effort. We cannot disrupt the industry all of a sudden. The government's effort agency led by Forest Department has taken several initiatives and stern action to combat illegal logging. Almost every day now, there are raids and so on, and most people, the funny thing is, because there's some degree of corruption in this industry, when we ambush illegal log ponds, the logs are there, the machinery are there, the chainsaw are there, but there's nobody there. So some stool pigeon must have told them, Polres datang. So I think there is some element of corruption in this area. 33 sawmills are forced to close down after being deprived of cheap illegal log supply. Up till now, 8 people have been convicted and penalized for various forest offenses, and 27 suspects been arrested in 2015. To save and preserve more of our forests, the government is actively constituting more forests to be totally protected, such as national parks, reserves, wildlife sanctuaries. I made a directive that any forest area that has been identified as proposed totally protected area will take precedence over the renewal of forest timber licenses. If the timber licensee applies for an extension of the period, but that area is meant for national parks, we will give priority to national park. sorry, we will not renew your license. This is to ensure that the state will achieve 1 million hectares of totally protected area by 2020. Thus far, we have 40 national parks, 40 natural reserves, and 6 wildlife sanctuaries with a total area of 853,000 hectares. Our aim is, of course, is 1 million hectares, and including water bodies has been gazetted. I believe, therefore, our policy of forest conservation, coupled with effective management of our forests, will continue to provide tangible and intangible benefit to the state and its people. The idea of sustainable forest management had made it a must for the big 6 timber companies to have at least one of their forest management unit to be certified under accredited certification body by 2017. As of now, 36 timber licenses with an area of about 2.5 million hectares has indicated the intention to be certified. I want assurance from the licensees that there is no turning from their commitment towards forest certification. As I've already announced during the seminar in 2014, the 60-year tenure will be granted as an incentive for the FMU certification. However, they would have to be certified throughout the tenure, otherwise their licenses will be terminated. Forest Department is closely monitoring these committed licensees on their progress towards certification. They are required to submit their comprehensive forest management plan according to the action plan that has been set by the department. We will have control all along the line. We have control all along the line. We will suspend their operations if they fail to submit their forest management plan accordingly. This will lead to termination of the timber license if they fail to comply with the directive. This is a serious business, and I mean it. The future outlook will transcend beyond timber. This means there will be opportunity to transform the dependency on timber production to capitalizing on ecosystem services as a new source of wealth in the state. We welcome any interested parties who can help us to realize these ideas. Let me say this in conclusion. State government is willing to cooperate with any non-governmental organization and international bodies in preserving Sarawak's forests, ensuring sustainable exploitation of state resources, combating illegal logging and corruption in the timber industry, if they are sincere and have a common agenda with the state government. To those genuine NGOs, I say we have a common agenda. Unless you have some other agenda which is different, then you are not welcome. If your agenda is the same as our agenda, preservation, proper exploitation of forests, you are welcome. But not if you have other agendas. I have opened all our national parks for research purposes. They are accessible to all international scholars in the field, in their respective field. They can do research in our national parks and nature reserves. So ladies and gentlemen, in summary, our policy is very simple. Preserve our forests, exploit it in a sustainable manner. Implementation must be strong. Make people realize that forest is a treasure for all of us and for future generations. With that, I respectfully declare this Harif International Forest Day Open for Sarawak. Sekian, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.